Mrs. Arneson's class, North Dakota Studies Project, November 2014. Ancient Chippewa Indians of North Dakota.
I wonder what it's like to live as a Chippewa Indian. The Chippewa Indians live in Canada and the United States. There is a tribe of Chippewa Indians in northeastern North Dakota. The Chippewa Indians have been in North Dakota for around 9,000 years. Chippewa Indians live in wigwams.
The Chippewa Indians' wigwams were made out of birch bark, juniper bark, and willow saplings. In the summer, when the men went out to hunt for bison, they used teepees. A teepee is like a tent that they could set up and take down easily. It was made out of buffalo hides. Their canoes were made out of birch bark.
Chippewa women and girls jobs in the tribe. The women took care of the kids. They also planted crops and harvested. They cooked the food. They cleaned buffalo skins. They also built the homes. They took care of the horses. They also made the clothes for the family, and if they ripped, their parents would fix them. They would also garden. The women helped skin the animals. They hunted. The women would cure the meat.
The girls played with their dolls to someday be a good mother. They take care of their children. They also helped their mothers learn to cook, how to learn to make clothes and sew. They helped their mothers and sisters in the garden. They need to copy their mothers to be like them.
What they planted beans, wheat, rosemary, berries, pumpkins, fruit, tomatoes, corn, squash, potatoes, and seeds. They also planted wheat, mint, rosemary, squash, or flowers, and they ate deer, raccoons, bears, bison, wolves, coyotes, wolves, squirrels, eagles, pheasants, and pheasants.
Chippewa men and boys jobs in the tribe. Chippewa men wore moccasins, breechcloths, and leggings, and in bad weather they wore moccasins, ponchos, and cloaks. They eat rice, fish, maple, sugar, wild berries, and small game, and bison. They hunt and fish. Fun facts: they are one of the biggest Native American tribes. The older boys liked to play lacrosse is polo with horses. No horses.
The boys played hoop and stick. They often went hunting with their father. The Chippewa men warriors used clubs, bow and arrows, flails. They used hide shields and snares. They also used spears when they went fishing. They used ladles.
Native American Chippewa food crops tools. The people in ancient societies had to find food, hunting and fishing, gathering by farming and raising. Other three food sources were much more important to Native American life. Most tribes used 2 or 3 of these food gathering techniques at once to get a varied diet. There were 4 basic ways for domesticated animals. They got most of their food from hunting, fishing, crops, corns, beans, squash, pumpkins, sunflowers, wild rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, peanuts, avocados, papayas, chocolate. Meat came from buffalo, elk, deer, and other wild game. Tools they used, bones, antlers.
To make tools, they also used rocks and stones. American fishermen would fish, hunt marine mammals for their canoes. They also set fishing nets and wooden traps for them. They gathered most of their meat from fishing. Their hunting and fishing weapons are bows, arrows, spears, harpoons, fish hooks, and blowguns. Seneca women planted corn, beans, and squash. They harvested wild berries and herbs. Seneca men hunted deer, elk, and fished in the rivers and the shores. Lake Ontario, Seneca Indian foods included cornbread, soup, and stews. They used bones and antlers to make tools. They also used rocks and stones.
Ancient Sioux Indian tribe of North Dakota.
Ancient Sioux homes. Do you know what it likes to live in the home of a Sioux Indian? Let us tell you. The Sioux Indians live in teepees made from long wooden poles and covered with bison hides. The poles will be tied together at the top and spread wide at the bottom to make the shape of an upside-down cone. Teepees could be taken down and set up quickly. This made it easy for villages to move on a regular basis.
Sioux women's and girl jobs. The Sioux women were in charge of homes, cooking and cleaning all day long. They had to drag the heavy posts along for the teepees. The girls would have to cook with their moms and also make clothes for the tribe with their mom. They wore long deerskin and elkskin dresses. The women and girls also wore moccasins on their feet, and in bad weather they wore buffalo robes. Some of the crops that the tribe planted was squash, pumpkin, mushrooms, corn, potatoes, and tomatoes, wheat, berries, beans, and rosemary.
Sioux women set up their teepees in Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Teepees are a large cone that is made out of buffalo hide. Sioux mothers, like many Native Americans, traditionally carried their babies on a cradle board on their backs. The Sioux women were in charge of farming and planting crops, and they are in charge of the homes and can kick any man out if they wanted to. The Sioux women had the girls help with the people that were hurt.
Sioux men and boys' jobs. The men wore breechcloth with leggings and buckskin shirts. The men, warriors' responsibilities were hunting and keeping their families safe. Lakota warriors used bows, arrows, spears, war clubs, and buffalo hide shields. The Sioux men wore braids because their hair is so long. There are many Native American hairstyles. The braids are the most common.
Men wrapped their braids in fur quillwork strips. Quillwork strips are feather hats that curve around their heads. Sometimes the Sioux warriors wore them while hunting. The boys' jobs were to play games that would teach them how to hunt. The boys' dads would tell them how to ride a horse. The boys played hoop and stick to learn how to hunt. They also played lacrosse.
Sioux tools. These are some of the Sioux tools and weapons. A hoe was made from a buffalo shoulder blade.
Knives were made from carved flint. A spear was made from a long, straight stick and flint. A bow and arrow was made from 2
sticks and string and flint. A stone axe was made from 2 pieces of stone tied together.
Sioux food. These are some of the Sioux main food: buffalo, corn, fish, elk, caribou, deer, and jerky.
And that's only some of it. There's lots of food and crops. They killed buffalo with spears and arrows.
They also caught fish with their hands or with hooks, and the women tended to the crops.
Ancient 3 affiliated tribes. Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara of North Dakota.
3 affiliated tribes' homes. They lived in homes called earth lodges. They were made with wooden frames and earth. When men went hunting, they brought teepees as shelters. Arikara tribe didn't have teepees for regular houses. They weren't migratory. Earthen house is a term for earth lodge. They are made for different tribes. The women built, owned, and took care of the homes. They owned the land. From 20 to 40 earth lodges made up a village. Inside the 3 affiliated tribes' homes, for the bathroom, they used, for their shower or bath, they used a teepee, and then they had rocks on the bottom, and they poured hot water on them, and it'll steam themselves clean, and they had a rack for their clothes. And for the couple bed, it was held up by logs. It had a buffalo skin pillow, buffalo fur blanket, and a buffalo skin thing in case they needed privacy. And the single bed had logs holding it up, and it had buffalo skin for a pillow, and then buffalo fur for the blanket. And in the middle of the room, they had all of their boxes hanging from a big, thick rope, and it was used, and there were 2 bowls on top that were used for if mice climbed down, because there were logs up top. So if mice climbed down, they would go off and they couldn't get to their food. And in the center of the earth lodge, there was a fire pit and a circle above it so the smoke could go out. And they had an indoor horse pen so the other tribe wouldn't sneak in at night and steal them. And for their door, they had logs holding it up, and it was really long. And it had and so it was held up by logs, and it had rocks inside of cup things. So when you open the buffalo skin, when you walked through the buffalo skin door, it would ring so they knew you were in their house. And they had a cache pit for where they stored their food in the winter or in summer to keep it cold. And they had a saddle wall where they put their horse saddles on. The end.
3 affiliated tribes, women, girls, row. The women's jobs are to take care of the family. The women would build earth lodges. Women would help hunt for food. The girls would make tools. The girls would help around the house. At the late summer harvest time, the family would have a husking feast. The girls and women would make moccasins and clothing. The girls would also help with growing crops like corn, beans, squash, pumpkins, potatoes, meat, fish, tomatoes, avocados, and sunflower seeds.
3 field tribes, boy and man jobs. The Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara all live in separate villages. The Mandan are Native American people. They do war, they are hunters, they are men chief, they guard their tribes, they garden, they make tools, they mate. Most Arikara people are still living in North Dakota today. They guard their tribes, hunters, war, men chiefs, and guards.
The 3 affiliated tribes' food, crops, and tools grew many crops and made many tools. Some of the crops they grew were sunflowers, beans, carrots, squash, corn, soybeans, and rice. They also grew watermelon and picked some berries.
The The tools they had were made out of some parts of the buffalo and of the deer. For example, a hoe was made out of deer antlers, rope was made from buffalo hair, and bowstrings were made from buffalo tendons and muscles.